Well, I'm a bit sad because this leaves us with the last video on Flask Make View, but as I'm kind of getting in the groove here, I don't want to leave you with just a short video. So hopefully this won't be too long, but I do want to show you a couple things. We'll recap on what we did, and I want to show you what happens if you don't build in succession. What do I mean by that? So we got a lot of structure with 3 commands. We, in the prior videos, did a Flask Make View recipes, created the index, wired the route controller and the model up, and so it built out recipe model here. And then the next command we did was Flask Make View recipes, comments, index, and we wired up a controller, a route, a controller, and made a model. And the model it made for that was the comments model. If we had not originally created a recipes model, and we just went straight to the second one, it would, what I like to say is namespace recipes. It would just put a slash recipes and then slash, and there would be no ID for the recipe. It would go straight to comments. And I can show you that. So I have in the terminal set up a new project, just a fresh new project with Flask new, my project 2. I'm running this project in the browser, so let's bump that up and reload it. Just make sure it's live. All right, and then so in VS Code, my project 2 is a fresh new app here. The models are just user. The templates is just the main templates. Routes just main. So let's go and run this. I just want you to see what happens. So if I do Flask Make View and then recipes.comments.index and then wire up the route, wire up the controller, and make the model for me. So that is just going straight back here. That's this command right here, Flask Make View, recipes, comments, index, and then route controller model, but leaving out the recipes, generating that model first. I just want to show you that normally we would expect an ID after the recipes because that's a registered model. But in this case, since we don't have recipes, let's see what happens. All right, so let's go to VS Code and let's look at, so the model that got created was comment. We do not have a recipe. And then if I go here, I see recipes, comments, and then the route that got created is recipes/comments. And so there's no, it's basically namespacing for you is what it's doing. So it's just kind of a little bit of a warning when you're building things. If you are building structures that are database structures, you need to do those in succession. Otherwise, you'll have odd behavior. Now, if you want to namespace something, like a lot of times we namespace admin, then you can totally do it this way. You can just say admin.comments.index, and then that will get you this admin prefix at the beginning of your route. I did this on purpose so that you have that flexibility. All right, so that goes back here. I'm actually finished with this. We can see it in the URL. If we want, we can just go here and go to recipes, and you'll get a 404 error because that doesn't exist. But if you go to recipes, comments, then you end up with your page. However, in our app, in Cooker, we have recipe 1 comments, and that would be the comments for recipe 1. But in this app, that doesn't exist. So, good. Let's go back. I want to go back to our app just so that we can kind of see all this structure. And as we do it, I want to, of course, make things look just a little bit better. Now, I'm not going to try to win any beauty pageants, but let's wire these things up so that they flow real nicely with clicking between pages. And I thought, let's have a comment have an author, just like a recipe can have an author. So I thought we'd add that data structure connection, and that will be a migration. So let's stop this one. And we will see out of here and into Cooker. And then let's run Cooker. All right. Let's give it a second. All right. So I thought it would be good if we clean this up because we have this hello world, and I definitely think we are past hello world at this point. We should have like a link here that says Cooker maybe, or definition Cooker, and then a link to all the recipes. That seems appropriate. And then that way we won't have to keep changing this to recipes. And then here in recipes, thought we could list the author. So you could see the pizza was by Drew. And then when we go to, so that's the recipe index, we go to the recipe show page. This is great, but let's clean this up and let's have a link maybe back to all the recipes, and then a comment, and then how many comments. It'd be cool to see, like, let's bring this down and say you've got like 3 comments or 2 comments. So in this case, 2 comments, and then we can clean this up a little bit. We can make the recipe like a link back to, I don't know, the show page for that recipe. We could probably put the author in here, and then we can say comments, and we can list those comments and who they were by. Right now, if the comment's really long, you're going to have a link linking that really long thing. So that seems odd. So maybe we'll just call this like comment 1 and comment 2. And then if there are no comments, maybe we have a message that says no comments yet. And then when you drill in here, right now we have for the show page on a comment, we really don't have anything. So let's flush that out. All right, so let's get back. Let's go back. First things first, we will, before we start in here, let's pull up the one thing I'd like is for comment to have a author. And we'll allow that to be nullable. So like you have the ability to say, I'm going to be anonymous. I'm going to leave an anonymous comment, or maybe you have the ability to be the author and show who wrote the comment. So that will require just a column here and then some. So we're going to come in. So this is cooker. Let's make sure we're. All right. Let's bump that up. So we'll go into app model, and then in our comment, we will add in, and I always like to put my reference IDs for the columns like up here. Now, it may be a little weird because it may end up, I put them kind of together because we already have a migration for this. It may stick our ID out of order and just stick it at the end. We'll just see what happens. Author ID equals a DB column, and then kind of follow this pattern right above it. So it's DB integer, spell right, and then DB foreign key. All right, so this is on instead of on the recipe table, we're an author, so that's from the user table. So, and it's users because it's the table name, and then ID, and we will nullable, say you can be nullable. If I didn't allow this to be nullable, I would have to do some other things, because in my migration, I'd have to like kind of set a default, and maybe make an unknown user or something like that, or I'd have to go in and delete out my comments. So we're gonna just make this nullable, and then down in the relationship, I should be able to say who my author is. Seems like to me I should do this first. I don't know, alphabetical maybe. But you can do it in any order. DB relationship. Okay, and the relationship is with the user class. So this is referencing the class. This is the relationship. So this is kind of the ORM, whereas this is tables, and so this is with the MySQL or SQLite in this case. We need a back reference. Back populates. All right, and then comments. Because if you have an author, you want to say, what are the comments for that author? Now I'm going to get yelled at in the app probably if I don't go and do this on the user model. Here, it's right here. So we need on the user model, we need to be able to have comments. So it'll be very similar to this. Equals DB relationship. And then it's going to be comment. Okay, because it's the comment, the class, and then back populates is author. So who, if you're on a comment, you can say who is the author. And we need a foreign key. Let's just copy this. And the foreign key is going to be, so let's see, the foreign key on the comment class is comment, the one referencing for this user is author ID. So on the comment class, the author ID comment class, it's the author ID. All right, so we will save that. And then we just need to make a migration. So in order to make the migration, we need the virtual environment activated. So source, then activate. All right, and then Flask DB migrate. And your message is, I updated the comments table. And you can put more in here with like an author ID. Okay, good, no errors. So DB, Flask DB upgrade. So when I do that, I got an error because So I'm actually glad this error happened. So I just had to take a minute and digest this error that we saw in the prior video. And it's nothing that we did here in code. It's actually the migration. And Miguel, who wrote Flask Migrate, did say in his tutorials, you need to look at the migration. And I just in the back of my head was hoping and praying that migration was going to be fine and there was going to be nothing wrong with it and we could just move on. But you know, you're going to add foreign keys to your tables. You're going to come back and be like, you know what, these things need to be connected. And so you very well might run into exactly what we just ran into. So we had the comment and we wanted to tie that comment to who wrote it, put the author in, and I hadn't added that in, and so I wanted to add that in. So we added it in, and then we tried to migrate, and we got a nasty gram. We got a nasty gram when we upgraded, and that means the migration got created. So when you do the minus Flask, when you do this command here, let's see if we have it. We have it, I know, but where is it? We do this command here, Flask DB migrate, and then we give it a message, update comment table with author ID. It actually goes into your project, so under migrations and under versions, and it creates a file for you. Update comment file with author ID. And then in here, we can actually see there's a squiggly line in what it's doing is it's creating a foreign key, and it didn't give the foreign key a name, which I'm a little bit surprised on, honestly, that it didn't auto-generate that name for us. And then it tried to drop that foreign key that it didn't give a name, and so it just put none in there. So we will give it a name, and that should make it happy. So foreign key is kind of the standard, and then I'm just going to call it comments, because on the comments table maybe, and then author ID from the users table. You can call it whatever you want. Let's do that. Okay, so I saved that. Let's go back here just so you could see. I check this. I'm refreshing. Comments, we're expecting an author ID. I'd really love that author ID to be here, and I chatted with chat to see if that was possible. It is possible, but it's not worth it because you have to drop the whole, you have to basically recreate this whole table. So you need to put this in kind of like a temporary table and then rebuild the thing. So not worth it in my opinion, just, and it's completely cosmetic. You'll have your author ID at the end, and that's just the way that's going to be. Now, if you are using MySQL instead of SQLite, there is a line of code that you can add into your migration that would let you move it over. And that's just through SQL commands. So I'll leave that for you to research. All right, so let's go back. So now that we've done this, let's see if we can upgrade again. And fingers crossed that this works. Hey, look at that. So life is good. And notice it did put our author ID in here. Usually in Table Plus, I can move it over like that just to make myself happy. And I guess that worked. So I don't know exactly what author ID is here. So I don't know exactly what Table Plus is doing as far as, let's close Table Plus. And then we'll quit it completely. And then bring it back and see if it's persists. So cooker, comments. Hey, okay. So, and that's what chat did say. It was completely cosmetic. In the structure though, your author ID is down here. But Table Plus must be doing something to allow us to keep it there. And visually, I just like to see those next to each other. Yeah. All right. So we have our author ID after quite a bit of work. Let's go in and refresh the page. Let's start making this look a little bit nicer. And then as we make this look a little bit nicer, we will kind of see all the structure that we have going on. And that's really the purpose of this. So we'll close these. All right. So in our main page here, we just, if I want to get to this hello world, then this is under mains. We don't usually work in there. So if we go to template, mains, index.html, hello world, we could just say, we could make an H1 and close that. And then we can call this cooker. So here's our cooker app, cooker. And then what I'd like to do is, let's put a paragraph tag in here and let's do an unordered list. And then I'm gonna have a couple things happen eventually. So I kind of want like a little bit of a navigation bar. And then I'd like to be able to go to all the recipes. Now, this is not a link, so let's make this a link. Oops. Okay. Put that back over here. All right. So let's make this a link here. So I'm going to say anchor tag and that. Then I will put an href here and it will be to recipes. So it's just URL for, and the beautiful thing about this is we don't really have to go look and see what we called things because of the way we've named it. I just want the recipes index page. So it's literally recipes index page. And that should give me, for some reason it looks like it's H1. There we go. Okay, so that gave me that. I'm not quite sure. Oh, I know what's going on. The reason it's looking a little odd is because I have some styling in here. I have Tailwind set up for you. I'm just going to comment that out for right now. And there you go. So you'll probably want that in your project, but Tailwind was masking the links and making them look normal instead of this kind of generic way. So, all right, so there we go. So we can now go to recipes, and that takes care of that. Let's go to recipes index page. So that's where we're on right now. And if I go back into here, we see recipes, and we see our index page. And then let's, on the index page, it's really just listing this, and that's fine. Let's add the author in here. So let's go like this. So we have, now there may not be an author. Is author required? Let's check that. Is author required on a recipe? So if I'm on recipes, I have these authors listed, but author is nullable is yes. So maybe we have an author, like a recipe that's they didn't list the author. So we can do an if condition and say if it does have an author, then we'll list the author of the recipe. So I would do it like this. I would say if recipe dot author, then in the if, then maybe we just do a dash, or let's say by, and then it will be recipe dot author dot username. Okay, and I don't actually want that to be part of the link, so let's put it outside the link. Okay, so pizza by Drew, salad by Sam, and you can click on the pizza or the salad. I mean, it's not great, but let's do let's just say recipes up here. Let's put, I think the thing that's bothering me, and this is where I say I have to tell myself this is not a beauty pageant, Drew, just move on. So I'm going to say that to myself. It's not a beauty pageant. We'll move on here. But these are recipes. And maybe we want to say cooker recipes. All right. So, and yeah, let's leave it. All right. So let's go into the recipe show page, which would be clicking in here. And this is really needs some help. So let's clean this up. So let's go back into recipe show page, which is right here. And right now we're just listing the title of the recipe, who the author was, and then a link to the comments. And that's good, it would be nice to be able to get back to all the recipes. So let's do this. Let's make an H1 up here because we kind of have been doing that. And we'll say recipe for, and then it will be recipe.title. All right. So that puts pizza up here. All right. And then let's kind of make like a mini navigation bar so that we can get back to all the recipes. So if I want to get back to all the recipes, I'll just do a little paragraph so that I have some spacing, and then a navigation bar, which was really just an unordered list with list items in it, right? So then I want to get back to all the recipes, and I would do that with an anchor tag. And our href is URL for, and then we're going to go back to all the recipes. So it's recipes.index. All right, so that will get me a link back to all the recipes, and then I can come back here to see the recipe for pizza. So you can think of maybe you have a bunch of different pages and they're just kind of all up here, and really you put that up at the very top. All right, or on the side maybe, however you want to lay it out. But again, it's not a beauty pageant. We're just putting content here. All right, so it would be nice to know who the author is and if there is an author. So we'll put that here. You see it here. You see here the author. So let's lay that out a little bit better. Author, and then we just noticed there may not be an author. So we'll do if recipe.author. Do it like this. All right, and then we'll just put the recipe, the author of the recipe there. So recipe.author.username. And you know what? If there's not an author, we can do an else and say unknown. All right, and in the if. So I can just kind of one line that and save that. So author is Drew, and then let's have a link to the comments, but it'd be really nice to know how many comments there are. We already have a link to the comments, so let's just reuse this. So to get to comments, it's recipe comment index, and then you need the recipe ID. So you will just, let's make this an unordered list in the event that we have other things, I think, because I think I'll have that in the future. And I would just like to say comments, and then at the end here, I'm going to put recipe.comments length. That will give me a number that tells me how many comments I have. So that was recipe.comments.length, and it says you've got two comments. So if I come back here, I have no comments. So it's starting to feel a little bit better. Let's go in here into the comments, and let's clean this up. This one's actually pretty good. So it would be nice to be able to get back to the recipe. So we can do that so that like I click on pizza and it takes me back here. So that'd be kind of like a back navigation. So this is the comment. Let's see, we're currently on the show page. We just did the show page for, and this is where the naming really helps. So we just did the show page for recipe. So that would be this page. We just did this page. And I drill in here, and now I'm on the index page for comment. So I'm seeing all the comments for that. All right, so let's go to the index page. So I have several index pages. So let's go to the index page for comment. All right, and it does look pretty good. Thought I'd change a few things. Let's make this an H1 instead of an H2. And we'll say the recipe is for pizza. So that should bump that up here. Recipe for pizza. And here, we'll get rid of this. Move this over. And then let's make that a link so that I can get back to the pizza's show page. So that would be the recipe show page. So we'll put an anchor tag here, which is an href, which is going to be URL for, and then where do I want to go? I want to go to the show page for recipes. So it's recipes.show, and that's going to require an ID, a recipe ID, which is recipe.id. All right, so do that, close that, and it's gonna yell. That should be like that, and close it here. There's the anchor tag. Okay, so let's see if that did that. So now I can get back to pizza, and I can go to comments. That feels better already. Let's put the author back here like we had. Probably just copy that from the show page. Let's do that. So, all right. So we have recipe. So I can come in here. We're here. I'm going to save this. The author is Drew. All right. And then we are on the index page for comment. So we need to show all those comments. That would be this section here, which we've already done. I'm going to do it like this. I'm going to make it a section, and I'm going to make these paragraph tags. Just to give it a little space. And the thing I don't love about this is if the comment gets really long, it's going to make this hyperlink long and weird. So I don't love that. What we can make as a hyperlink is maybe we'll just do this. Comment, and then we'll make comment ID in here. So that'll be like comment 1, and then we can say, and then the comment may have an author. So if it has an author, we'll do it. Let's do it like this. We'll make this its own section. All right. and then we'll have the comment here in its own section. So comment dot, and I believe I called it message. All right. So right now it's going to look like this. So comment 1, comment 2, and then right below it is the comment. Then we can drill into that comment. So let's put the author, if there is an author on this. So we would have something like this. If Comment.author we'll put colon by and then comment.author.username and then in the if. And if you want, you can put else anonymous or something like that. I'll just leave it like this. Right now, I do not have an author for these comments. So let's go into the database and let's go to comment. Let's see here. We've got these 2 comments. As far as users go, I have 3 users to pick from. We'll make this comment from user 3. We'll save that. So we should see Sue pop in here. By Sue. So there you go. Yeah. And it's this spacing. I'll let you work that out, or we can do that in a later video. Right now, we're not trying to win a beauty pageant, so we're just going to leave that. All right. If we don't have a comment, we should put like no comment yet. Let's do that. So there is an else actually in a for each, which is odd to me, but it is very helpful in exactly these cases. So if you don't have a comment, we'll put no comments yet. Okay. So this one does have a comment. Let's go back here. We go back to recipes. We can look at Sam. We can go to comments, and it says no comment yet. So we're starting to get like more of a structured flow. And let's see. I did want to, let's go into comments. I did want to look at so we're looking at the show page for this comment, because right now we go from here to images, and image is great, and we can just leave that alone, but the show page is still the generic show page. So let's mock this up just a little bit. So we're going to the show page for comment. And let's see here. All right. So fresh page. I always love a fresh page. H1, and we'll see. Hopefully we won't put too much in here, but just enough. We're going to go recipe title, so we know what it is. Okay, so we know it's pizza. So there it comes. And guess what? That's good. I really love this feature in Flask. It tells me what's going on. I have a feeling in the controller, we haven't passed over anything for the show page. So I'm on recipe comment, which means, and this is great, this is where the structure is going to help us out. So we're not having to like fumble around. We need to go to the recipe comments controller, right? We need to look at the show method. So recipes comment controller, we need to go to the show and we need to send over the comment, right? So what I would do here is actually very similar to what I did, because you have a recipe ID and a comment ID. So I'm going to look at comment dot query dot, and we can do it like this, dot filter, and then I want comment dot ID to equal comment ID, and I also want, I believe you can separate these with a comma. I want comment should have a recipe ID to equal recipe, two equal signs, recipe ID. And then I am going to do first or 404. Okay, and it's yelling at me because it's like, you don't have a comment. Should come from model. Okay. So we're going to call that comment. All right. So here we can pass over comment. Now, I mean, comment equals comment. That's not going to solve our problem because we were referencing recipe. So to get recipe, you can say comment is on the recipe. So the comment recipe. And then we should be able to say recipe equals recipe. Okay, let's see if that solved our problem. Yay, it did. Okay. And we did something very similar to this in our other controller. Right here. We did comment, query, filter, and then actually I like the way I have it styled over here. So it's comment dot recipe ID is equal to recipe ID, and then comment dot ID is comment ID. So exactly the same thing. Let's make it look like that one. But both of those were valid. It's just maybe a little, that looks a little more compact. So that gave me my comment and then my recipe. All right, so we'll go back up here and we will go to the show page. Okay, let's see what else we want to put in here. So, and if we find that we are missing a variable, we can always go back to the controller. We know where it is, and we can add what we need. So we're going to put in our author here on our recipe. So author, we'll just say if there is an author, I did this already, so bear with me. We did this already actually in another one. If recipe.author, then we will put recipe.author.username, and then else unknown, then the end if. All right, so that should get my author in there. And then we are on the show page for comment. So let's list that comment, and then comments have images. So let's make an image link so that you can get 2 images, because right now we can't do that. And we'll just list how many images. And if we don't have any images, we'll just say no images for this comment. So an H2, just to list that comment. Comment is, let's put it in a nice little paragraph tag. And we'll make it comment. And I believe I passed that over, but if I didn't, we can comment.message. This is great. Okay. What I had displayed here was the rep from the model, right? So that's why you were seeing that. All right, and then let's do an H4. And we'll put this whole thing in, and we'll do a little bit of here. So we'll say images. Basically, I want to say images, and then put like a number, like 2 images or something like that. So it's going to say comment.images, and then a vertical line. This is Jinja 2 length. Okay. So images 2, now that's if there are images. So if there are not, so we need an if condition. If comment.images length is greater than 0, then do this. Else, I am going to say no images for this comment. All right. End in the if. All right. Now, that's great, but I promised a link here. So let's put that link in. Now, we won't have a link if there are no, if there are no images. So we'll do it like this. I feel like this should actually go around the number. That seems just more natural. All right. So where are we going to go? We're going to go to, and this is like, I know I've been talking, so if you've hung in with me this long, I really appreciate it. Thank you very much. This right here is, what I'm about to type is really what makes Flask Commands so nice to me, is that I want to get to the list of the images. I've got 2 images. And I don't have to go traipsing around figuring out what that URL for is supposed to be, which is what I've had to do in the past for so long. And now it's just so natural because of the naming convention. So it's URL for, and then I want recipes, comments, images, the index page. And then I know, hey, I have a model recipes, I have a model comments, I have a model index, but I'm showing, or images, but I'm showing all those. So I just need the ID for recipes and I need the ID for comments. So we're going to put in here a comma, recipe ID is recipe.id, and comment ID is comment.id. And that should work. Boom. Awesome. Okay, and I'll leave this page alone. I think I've made this video long enough. actually really cool that we were able to see a issue with the migration and able to fix that. Thank you, ChatGPT, for your assistance there on that. And yeah, we'll see you in the next video, where I'm very excited because, and let's get back here to the docs. Often you want all, like we have done this for index and show a whole lot, but there are 5 other RESTful actions, and you may want all 7 RESTful actions, and you're going to be like, well, now I've got to write Flask Make View 7 times, which is not productive at all. So we have a solution to that, which is Flask Make Controller, which we'll build, and then adding a optional flag to it, and then you'll be able to get all 7 RESTful actions with one command. Then you'll be like, well, why do we need Flask Make View? Well, you may only just want 1 or 2 of them, so now you have both. All right, we'll see you in the next video.